What's going on, guys? Welcome to something completely new. This is actually going to be a new visual novel playthrough. As you can see, this is going to be a playthrough of Fate Hollow Ataraxia. I know a lot of people for a long time have requested I do a playthrough of this. I'm sorry I didn't really get around to this sooner. A lot of the reason for that was because, of course, my old channel got completely deleted by YouTube along with a lot of my old playthroughs. So the Fate playthrough had been gone for a while. As you all know, I just recently found the Fate playthrough on my old hard drive because, you know, I thought my old hard drive was dead and I wasn't able to access any of my old files, but I recently managed to get almost everything back. So that all being said, I think I've had the motivation recently to go back to some of these playthroughs I'd been doing for the channel that I'd recently managed to recover. So I figured, considering a lot of people like my Fate playthrough, and a lot of them wanted to see Fate Hollow Ataraxia, why not go ahead and start it? And I also heard that this translation had been finished for a while, so there's no other, there really is no reason to, there's really no reason not to start this playthrough. And I've been meaning to play this game for a while, so this playthrough is actually going to be kind of blind. I've actually not played this game until now. Well, I have, but only like the beginning. So aside from that, this is going to be pretty much blind. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started. This is Fate Hollow Ataraxia. He said he was afraid of the night. City of Shinto, Kurokizaka District, Block 4, Semina Apartments, 11th floor, Room 2. That's where he lived. His name was, well, let's just call him Mr. A. Mr. A was a student and, having just turned 20, had moved in the beginning of the spring. This was the first time he ever moved, and the first time he ever lived by himself, and the first time he was in an unfamiliar neighborhood. While Mr. A, an introvert by nature, still felt lost, he was adjusting to life in Fuyuki gradually. Mr. A was comfortable being alone in the first place, and never seemed to care much about having few friends or living amongst strangers. Rather, he preferred things that way. Mr. A, who would shut himself in his room, apparently liked not having his new life disturbed by anyone, be it friends or family. Mr. A was satisfied with his life, except for two things: the long hallway leading to the entrance, and the hopeless thoughtlessness of the family that moved in next door 1 month prior. What was unsettling him began since he moved into the apartment in spring. What his parents had set up for him was an unknown yen monthly, four-bedroom apartment. The size was nothing to complain about. Yeah, you don't really need a 4-bedroom apartment if you're living by yourself, dude. While Mr. A loved being alone, he had an inclination towards luxury and didn't favor living plainly. When it came to the dwelling, the bigger the better. To someone like him who hated the outside world, this place was a fortress. It had to be large and solid. It couldn't be easy to reach. He couldn't relax if it wasn't impenetrable. That's right. It wasn't that Mr. A liked being alone. It was the issue of others being near. He was unconsciously afraid of someone other than himself intruding into his space. There was another reason why Mr. A chose Semina Apartments. It was the distance from the living room to the door. The long hallway was the first and last obstacle to pass through in order to enter or leave the apartment. The 4-meter-long hallway stretched in a straight line from the living room to the door. There were neither storage rooms nor a bathroom along the way. It was an unusual hallway for an apartment to have, but it seems Mr. A took a liking to it for its length. It took up the ideal amount of space and was an ideal entranceway. The far-off separation from the entrance was not so much a medium between inside and outside, it was more of an ambiguous boundary. It was unnatural. One could say the hallway itself was the real entrance. However, once he began living there, something about the hallway started to worry him. With such a splendid length, what could possibly worry him about it? After being puzzled for several months, he finally figured it out. It was simple. The long hallway had no lights. It looked like a structural flaw had left no space to install any lights. The hallways of the other apartments had them, but only in room 2 of floor 11 were they forgotten. How stupid. Not the worker that forgot to install the lights, but himself, who had noticed only now after living there for several months. How do you notice that sort of thing only now? Especially if you've lived there for so long. Come to think of it, he had already made a wrong turn the moment that he had failed to realize what was amiss. It is kind of weird how this starts just following some random dude moving into a new apartment. I do remember this part though, so trust me, it'll all make sense soon. For those of you who don't know what's going on. Fall came, and the new tenants moved in next door. They were the kind of happy family you could find anywhere. A young married couple and a 3-year-old daughter. The only contact he had with them was limited to a simple greeting when they were moving in. All Mr. A knew about them was their surname, redacted, and the daughter's name, redacted. Semna Apartments is an L-shaped building with only 2 apartments on each floor. At the center is the entrance into the building, and each apartment occupies the entire horizontal or vertical part of the L. At the entrance, there's a door leading to the elevator and the emergency stairwell. Sometimes Mr. A would meet the redacted couple at the entranceway, but on rare occasions he saw it redacted alone by herself. Oni-chan, won't you push the button for me? Why does this remind me of Ilya? Whenever they met, she would say that. The elevator buttons were slightly above her height. It was not too high for her to reach, but for some reason she never raised her hands above her shoulders. While he thought it was strange that a 3-year-old girl would go up by herself, he did what the girl asked, and he would see her not just on the 11th floor, but also at the entrance on the 1st floor. He would find the girl crouching in front of the elevator as he was coming home or leaving. She would raise her head and say, looking up at him, "Oni-chan, won't you—" Ah, damn it, I missed that. After having that exchange over and over again, Mr. A learned the girl's name. I guess her asking him the same question. He did not remember it, however, because Mr. A had no interest in other people. Instead, he called her Little Red Riding Hood because she always wore a red hood. I'll say it again, Mr. A was an introverted young man. As long as his lifestyle wasn't threatened, he didn't care about the outside world. Be it, for example, an argument he heard from the other side of the wall, the sound of a little girl crying once every other day, a woman's scream that could only be described as shrieking, the girl not being able to raise her arm above her shoulders due to a neglected bone fracture, or her wearing a red hood to hide the bruises on her face because her father told her to. Well, the stuff that only concerns other people. The ruckus of the neighboring room was only about a meter away from the door, but who could blame him? It was, after all, a long hall. The source of the screaming was several meters away, and he inevitably had to ignore it while watching TV. So, the father's probably abusing this girl, and he doesn't seem to care, and I'm guessing he might be abusing the wife too. That's pretty messed up. But on that night, it was especially loud. A blood-curdling scream. Then siren-like crying. Then the sounds of a door being opened violently, reverberating in the entranceway. Then the sound of something banging on Mr. A's door. That night had been aggravating to Mr. A, who had been quietly enjoying a late-night broadcast at 2 a.m. He was about to get up and ask them to behave like reasonable human beings. And so, get up he did, but soon sat back down. It'll probably end soon anyway. Their affairs were none of Mr. A's business. Butting in at this point would get him overly involved, so he avoided thinking about it. Whatever it was, it's their own responsibility. People ought to handle their problems by themselves, and so Mr. A took the remote and raised the volume by 5 bars. By the end of the night, he was turning off the TV and falling asleep. The usual nighttime silence had finally returned. But not for long. The next day, Mr. A learned that there had been a family suicide next door. Jesus Christ. Well, whatever, it doesn't concern me. It was the first time he had ever been questioned by the police. The night before, after having an argument, Miss Redacted murdered Mr. Redacted with a blade. After slashing Redacted, her only daughter, she took her own life. When asked about it, "I slept like a log and didn't hear anything," was Mr. A's answer. The officer thanked Mr. A for his cooperation and was about to leave. As he was walking away, Mr. A asked just one question. "Excuse me, but what happened to their daughter?" Lowering his eyebrows, the officer replied, "We analyzed the blood remaining on the weapon, and there's no doubt she had been stabbed. Judging from the bloodstain, the wound was fatal. Except," the young officer muttered uncomfortably, "but there is no corpse. The body is nowhere to be found. Neither in the room nor in the entranceway she ran into." What happened was simple. After being stabbed by her mother, the Little Red Riding Hood seemed to have managed to escape into the entranceway. At that point, however, the trail stops. The bloodstains stop in front of the elevator. So, why didn't she use the elevator? In fact, why didn't she seek help from you? No matter how frantic she may have been, she should have been able to ring the doorbell at least. Mr. A couldn't bring himself to say that either button was far out of the girl's reach. The officer left, and Mr. A remained standing in the doorway, deep in thought. 2 o'clock at night, he pictured the little girl escaped from her crazed mother, but unable to leave the entranceway, desperately banging on Mr. A's door on the verge of collapse, with a tear-stained face. Now, this is what you get for not answering the door, and in the end, the girl's body was never found. Several days passed. Late at night, always at the same time, Mr. A started noticing a strange noise. The noise itself wasn't loud. If he didn't pay attention to it, it was almost inaudible. At first, Mr. A didn't think about what it could be. He told himself it was just wind shaking the window. But the noise came back every night. Bang, bang. It was a noise that was faint enough to be non-existent, yet it was getting on his nerves. When he realized that the noise wasn't from the window, but rather echoing in the hallway. Oh shit, what was that? I didn't even see that. I didn't even see that text. Well, I saw it for a second, then it went away. Mr. A walked down the long hallway and brought himself to the door. Oh, don't do it, bro. Don't do it, bro. This is the one time I would advise you not to answer the door. He asked who it was through the intercom. No response. The moment Mr. A came to the door, the noise which had been so soft moments ago. Ooh. He looked outside through the peephole. A round, distorted view. Nobody was there, just a clean-looking entranceway. Nothing except red specks on the cream-colored floor that... His eardrums felt like they were going to burst. There was no one in the entrance. But the noise did not stop. Mr. A tried to look deeper into the peephole. Maybe there was someone there. Maybe he couldn't see at this angle. The noise continued. Wait, there was something under the peephole, just outside of his view. Open it. Oh, shit. Something red wearing a hood was clinging onto the door. This is turning into a fucking horror story. Holy shit, Jesus Christ. He ran back down the long hallway. The clock was showing 2 a.m. Yeah, the exact time that happened. Those late-night visits became a routine event. The noise continued every night. Mr. A never opened the door. Then one night, it happened again. It was insignificantly quiet. He could have just brushed it off as being part of his imagination. What did that say? God damn it. I can't read some of these. But now, it had been an unavoidable angst that had stained his brain, cutting away at his nerves like a blade. With each day, Mr. A's mind was being cornered. It was the end of autumn. He could now hear it no matter what time it was. That night, he came to a decision. He would see for himself what was clinging to the door. He walked down the long hallway. The light from the entranceway leaked in from behind the door, passing through the unlit corridor. Open it, open it, open it. He pushed the door open. Oh no. I'm actually afraid of what's going to happen now. There was nothing there. There was no one there. That painful knocking that had been echoing in his skull was gone as well. Of course, there was nothing. Something that ridiculous couldn't be true. There'd never been any noise. There'd never been a red hood. Ha 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 ha. Laughter and relief mixed together. His chill body rapidly regained its warmth. He had just been hearing things. Somehow it seemed that incident had gotten to him. Without realizing it, he had felt guilty and developed paranoia. But that was all over. It all ended the moment he opened the door. Phew. Wiping sweat off his forehead, he closed the door. Once he had locked the door, he raised his head. Before his very eyes. Oh no. Down the long dark hallway he had been so fond of. Holy shit, his eyes widened. In the middle of the corridor there was something, wearing a red hood. A familiar dead body. It seemed to be pleading at him. Somehow, Mr. A knew that it would be the last thing he would hear before his death. From within the darkness, its lips moved, like a watermelon that had been bored into with a knife. With a blood-stained voice, the Little Red Riding Hood spoke to him. Oni-chan. The button. Oh shit. Okay, so this was... I don't think I need to read that part. Okay, so this was basically a horror story somebody was telling. What was that supposed to be? That sucked, and seriously, what's with all the visual effects? Mitsuzuri, too many details, too much good acting, and also the story too long. And what was wrong with that Mr. A guy? Dude, if things get that freaky, then move out. Move out. I have to agree, actually. October 11th, past midnight, in a guest room at the Ryudo Temple. Makidera Kaide's shrieking voice resounds through the fall sky. Move? That's easy for you to say. Even you have been saying things like, I swear I'll leave that house for how many years now? It's the way people are. A little anxiety is enough to make them leave something they're attached to, you see. If everyone would move away just because of one little ghost, there'd be nobody left on this island by now. Oh, she's got a point. Those are profound words. Indeed, ghost stories are inseparable parts of our lives. By the way, how's the geisha in your hallway? There isn't one. We don't have any noble folks like those. And it's not like there's any water leaking into our hall at midnight even when it's not raining. And it's not like my ancestors were inland sea pirates either. Why is she denying it so much though? So your place is that all, huh? Was the hallway story a Kimon for you? Not sure what that means. Shut up. I'm not afraid of any hallway. I want to move into a stylish modern apartment. Oh, like the one in the ghost story. And what's a kimon? Is that some kind of new chakra? How can you know what a chakra is, but not a kimon? A kimon refers to a bad direction, a bad omen. To be precise, it's the northeast direction. In other words, Ryodo Issei, the son of Ryodo Temple's head monk and the president of the student council. Issei, who came with us as a supervisor in his official role, briefly glances at me. Oh, I see. You temple boys sure know this stuff. But no thanks. What I want to hear about is more of those cosmic kind of stories, not ghosts or that kind of stuff. Oh, so she's a Lovecraft fan. Like, you know, a meteorite falling on Toseka's place in the Edo period, or there being a huge cavern underneath Fuyuki. You know, stuff with realism. Is that... Well, all that actually kind of happens, so... But I thought the story just now was quite realistic. What actually happened was that the real murderer was Mr. A, and he hid the girl's corpse inside a wall in the hallway, correct? Wow. That's some great deductive skills. Kane-chan, I think that defeats the purpose of a ghost story. You want me to tell a realistic story? Makidera, what do you think a ghost story is supposed to be? Well, conspiracy theories are Toseka's domain. If you want to hear one, why don't you wait until it's her turn? Where is Toseka? Oh, there she is. Nothing like that. I don't really know any that would suit Makidera-san's taste. Toseka counters elegantly. That's her usual manners at this sort of gathering. Sorry, how about Mato? I once heard from a first year that Captain Mato can be surprisingly frightening. Me? It's not that I like scary stories exactly. I'm just good with them. Is that because she pretty much lived through her nightmare? By the way, Mitsuzuri-senpai, who told you that? Oh god. Sakura, you have to understand, that is the scary part. She lets out quietly. No one here knows that Toseka, Rin, and Mato Sakura are sisters yet. I don't mind you having a good time, but we just started. Do you want to continue or not? Personally, I think this meeting will have to be suspended if Makidera is going to continue causing a ruckus. Yeah, it's not being considerate to the sleeping monks. If Makidera promises to stop screaming, let's continue. I wasn't trying to be noisy. All I did was offer constructive criticism of Mitsuzuri's boring story. But, are you going to criticize the next one too? That's the problem. I do realize that asking Makidera to control herself is about as hopeless as asking someone to stop breathing. Damn. And Toseka just roasts people naturally. She just doesn't even give a fuck. She'll just roast anybody. So, what do you say? Care to stop can you stop breathing? Yeah, I can. The second best thing I'm good at is after track is swimming. See? Let's continue. Isn't it Saigusa-san's turn? Okay, but I've never told a ghost story before. It's alright. Don't worry about trying to scare us. The tasteless story Ayako told us was actually based on a real event. Makidera-san was scared because she probably knew about what happened in Semina Apartments. You know, when they went into the apartment story, I was kind of reminded of the fifth Karno Kyokai movie. Really? Yes, there was an actual family suicide in Semina Apartments. The fact that 1 year later, the young man living next door went missing and the police were asked to start an investigation is also true. Ooh, that makes it weird. That makes it creepy as hell. Oh my god. Stop! Stop! Mr. A went on a journey of self-discovery for some reason. A wonderful reason. He'll come back one day and when he becomes a big man. How dare you make up a weird reason for the disappearance of such a great guy? You're rotten to the core, Mitsuzuri Ayako. But he was a shut-in. What was so great about him? Did Mr. A really vanish? Yeah, a resident of the same apartment said so. Right, Miss Mitsuzuri? That's how it is. I guess I don't need to dramatize it that much. Probably would be enough to just tell the actual rumors. Makadera is a scaredy cat, so Sayusa-san should try something along the same lines. Stories about ghosts that you might have heard from somebody, maybe? Oh, I know a bunch. Does everybody know about the ghost in the window? It started out as a rumor spread in the second semester. What's that? This is the first time I've heard of it. The one about a shadow in a haunted western house? I think I heard first-year students in the archery club mention it before. Yes, that haunted house. There is this abandoned western-style house somewhere in Fuyuki, and if you go in there when it's dark, a shadow from a window on the second floor will stare back at you. Huh? What kind of shadow, Yukichi? And what do you mean by a house somewhere in Fuyuki? I don't really know myself. I think it's a mansion that people usually avoid. Could they be talking about Namato House? I heard somebody actually saw it, though. That person got lost and eventually came upon a western-style house that was surrounded by trees. There were no signs of people living there, but there was a woman's ghost on the second floor. An abandoned mansion with a lady inside? Isn't that Tosuka's place? Oh yeah, Tosuka has a place like that, too. Tosuka, your house is being turned into a haunted mansion. So that's what it was. I'm sorry, Tosuka-san. Is that really your house? Yeah, that sounds like your house, actually. You don't have to apologize, Sayusa-san. This isn't the first time my house has been treated like that. I've already gotten used to baseless slander like Makadera's. Baseless slander wouldn't be entirely accurate. The Tosuka residence is actually a type of haunted house. Okay then, let's talk about Shinto instead. There is a story lately in the evening in Shinto. You can see a huge string-like thing in the sky. Unsure of herself, Saigusa Yukika looks at the crowd. I'd say that she's looking for witnesses. Did anyone see any string-like things? I have heard about this before, but unfortunately I haven't yet to encounter anything otherworldly. When you say sky, do you mean the evening sky? This wouldn't happen to be about a shadow on top of the center building. That's a pretty specific example. Now I've heard the story of the red figure on top of center building a lot, but I think Saigusa-san's story is different. I wonder who that could be. There's something mysterious about the way Mitsuzuri Ayako looks at Tosuka. As if she knows the truth behind that, Tosuka, who prefers wearing red, makes a sour face. Oh, it's her. Yeah, she does like to stand on top of buildings, as we know. It's been half a year since the 5th Holy Grail War ended. That means that she's probably still patrolling the area at night. Makadera-senpai, have you seen it? Nope. But it has to be a UFO. I knew it. Makadera, you have no idea what a ghost story is. Looks like it. What we're doing right now is a cult, not cosmic. I hate to tell you this, Maki, but there won't be any of your favorite Momomo stories tonight. Whatever that is. I don't read those kinds of funny, out of whack books. They're seriously dumb. I think the lady doth protest too much. Well, those dumb parts are in a way irresistible. Now, how about the mirage in the Shinto sky? Everyone shakes their heads. Unfortunately, there are no witnesses. However, I've been getting this feeling from a little bit ago. How should I put it? On the topic of rumors, here's one from me. Everyone has heard about the castle built in the forest at the outskirts of Fuyuki, right? It seems like there's been a new addition to that story. When someone enters, spirits of the old Imperial Army materialize and send them off to the battlefield. After overcoming many obstacles, the heroes stay overnight at the Phantom Castle and are looked after by 2 maid sisters or something like that. Well, that story definitely has some truth to it as well. Huh? Ryudo-kun, did the dream melt your brains by chance? Why you? I do think it is abnormal, but there have been people who have seen it. If you think I'm lying, you should go there yourself, alone. Crap. This is funny. So, what does Emiya think about Ryoto's telltale? Mitsuzuri shifts the conversation to me. Up until now, I've been just an observer. Oh well, I had been keeping my mouth shut because I don't know how to comment on this, but there's no way Issei would be making things up. Ryoto Temple is close to the forest, so it might actually be there, surprisingly. It's not that I have no idea what it might be. Putting that aside for the moment, I feel bad about breaking conversation, but I've got to go to the bathroom. Bathroom break. Sorry. I'll be coming back without you guys realizing it, so just go on. I'll be there to scare Makidera when you get to a good part. Whatever. Try it if you can. I'm also a lady. I can't lose to Emiya. There goes Makidera, as usual, reacting in a weird way. Ever since I started having lunch with Tosaka, Makidera has been acting like this all the time. It's chilly outside. The night air in the mountains is cold and crisp, unlike in the city. Exposed to the cool air, my unclear head and ambiguous thoughts become more defined, waking me up. Looking up at the night sky, I let out a heavy sigh. I've already walked some 20 meters away from the room, huh? It's not every day that I find myself trying to think about something for no reason in the temple's passage. Now then, what should I try contemplating first? Maybe I should try organizing my thoughts on how things ended up being like this. Speaking of things happening to me recently, there's the story of today's training camp. It involves the upcoming cultural festival, Sakura, who is working hard as the captain of the archery club, Mitsuzuri, who is looking out for her, and the strange relationship with the track and field club. At the end of a complicated argument, little by little, a training camp was being set up for the cultural festival. Issei offered the location, and I was invited as hard labor. Basically, I'm in charge of the food. As always, Shiro is the cook. Life's as hectic as ever, but at least things are peaceful. 6 months ago, there was a battle for the Holy Grail, with all the consequences. In that battle, something was lost and something was gained. It's been enough time to look back and reflect on those events. I've settled down. The Holy Grail War is a thing of the past. There's no reason for another conflict to spark in Fuyuki. The Holy Grail is gone, the servants have vanished, the dead won't return, and life continues without problems. There's no need for these days to change. The factors linking them together are almost all there. Linking a similar tomorrow with yesterday and enjoying the slight changes is the proper way of life for a person. My thoughts stop. I'm certain there was another reason for the training camp. Oh, I saw a certain someone. What was it? I'm pretty sure there was something standing towards the corner of my vision just now. In the direction of the temple grounds. It's too far off to get a good look, but there's a human figure running towards the back hill. It's probably a monk or somebody from the temple. We aren't the only ones in Ryoto Temple. I really shouldn't be worried by random people. That's right, but more importantly, the bathroom. Increasing my pace, I jog down the hallway. Whoops. I've just bumped into someone coming from around the corner. Oh, excuse me. My apologies. I was dozing off for a bit. Oh, is Emiya seeing things? Is she really there? My mind freezes. I'm too surprised to even know what I'm surprised about. But you should be careful too. Running in the hall is bad manners, boy. Castor walks past me. She's as refined and sarcastic as always, but seeing her face unhooded is quite rare. However, what was I so surprised about? Oh, right. Castor sure is a beauty. The monologue restarts my frozen mind, and I keep on going. Okay, seriously, what the hell is going on? I clear my head. Having finished my business, I'm back in the guest room. And thus, Yahachi was resurrected. The mother's mad desire to once again see her beloved son, abused to death by the villagers, had resurrected the dead. However, the resurrected Yahachi was missing many vital parts. He had no arms, no legs, no entrails, no brain. To get replacements for the missing parts, every night, from the captured villagers she locked away, she would... Issei's eyes are gleaming. I'm just looking at the two girls just constantly shaking in the corner. I expected no less of the son of a monk. When it comes to graveyards, corpses, and karma, he has no rival. Well, Issei surprisingly has a knack for telling scary stories, I guess. It goes without saying how Makidera would react. But the ghost story expert Himuro Mitsuzuri and even Tosaka are silently getting ready for the conclusion. Oh, I see even the teachers there. It is the same with everyone. Hold on, there was something weird just now. Kazuki-sensei is also quietly listening to Issei's story. Our brave leader, Fujine. Why do you think tigers are tough? They've got anti-horror story genes. That's why. You guys don't have any, so you've got to build up resistance to them. That sounds like an excuse to me. She had sat on the verge of tears. Now she's already asleep. I think this is what they call abdication of leadership. But since she couldn't let a meeting of a crowd of young people in the dark go unmonitored, she asked Kazuki-sensei to take the reins of authority. And so the dead Yahachi gained a mind. Alas, by the time Yahachi could call his mother's name, she had passed away. The black arts had consumed his mother. Yahachi was saddened. He could no longer feel so much joy over living once more. All he had was grief for the mother who withstood such agony to revive him. And so Yahachi would attempt to resurrect his mother just like she did him. But no matter how many times he tried, he failed. No matter how many times he meticulously traversed the path of heresy his mother took. No matter how many mountains of villagers' flesh. No matter how many lakes of blood he used. His mother would never be revived. Why? Zombies are supposed to make other zombies. Give him a break, and make some more. It's not weird to have 2 moms or 10 moms nowadays. And why are you talking like an old man, Mr. President of the Student Council? Why, you. Stop ruining the mood, Makidera. It's the Ryudo family tradition for the story to be told this way. The truth was that Yahachi and his mother were different. It was a problem of the boundary. Whatever black or supernatural art is used, there is one thing that can never be granted. That is, only the living can revive the dead. The dead consuming the dead only create more of the same kind, and they cannot bring them back to life. That gives birth not to a person, but to a flesh-eating monster, and no more. That's a good lesson. It is true that the wishes of the dead cannot be granted. It is always the breath of life that causes things to happen. Even if the deceased were to be granted life once again, without a doubt, the dead cannot ever bring back the dead. It has always been like that. Only the living can bring back the dead. Unaware of that, Yahachi continues to take the blood of the flesh of the living for his mother. They say that even to this day, he's still collecting people's limbs at Ryudo Mountain. This is the story of Makorozoka Yahachiro, and the history of the Kageyama Entrail Graveyard. Issei ends his tale. The candle is blown out. His turn is over. I admit, you got me there. I never expected the son of a monk to tell a story about a graveyard while we're staying at a temple. My compliments to your childishness. Man, even when she's complimenting somebody, she's still kind of like roasting them. Today, this is my base camp. To annihilate the infidels, I'll use whatever I can. Who's next? The staple of camping trips, ghost stories, would go around in a circle. Emiya, you're up. I know it's going to be tough following up after President Ryudo, but do give it a good shot. No need to worry, Michizuri-senpai. Senpai's wonderful at telling ghost stories, right? They're pretty effective at frightening Fujimura-sensei in the summer. So... she does get scared. Makidera is still shaking. Everyone's eyes focus on me. I've got a couple of ghost stories on me, but this is the first time I ever told one to this many people. In fact, I don't really like telling stories in the first place. I can't do the weird dramatization, and I can't really tell if they're good or not. Relax, Emiya-kun. Just imagine you're in the storehouse, like always. You'll be fine. Well, now I feel awkward. Oh well. It's really not like me, but this is part of the festival, to wrap up this great trip. Okay, here's a long one. Doing something I usually wouldn't, I start telling my story for the first time. This is called The Fifth Holy Grail War. An extract is made from the middle. Okay. Heavens Feel Backnight. For no known period of time, I was crouching down. Not a single moan escapes me. My throat has been pierced by a rotting branch. My tongue was the first to be pulled out. My vocal organs have been carefully destroyed to silence me. What the fuck? I have no body to struggle in pain. My limbs have been completely severed. It's as if only my heart was still living. My body stopped working long ago, but my sense of pain alone has yet to fail me. Living and being in pain are one and the same. As long as I continue to exist, even as only a heart, the pain won't end. For a long time, I had been left in this sunny spot. It is hope at its highest, and despair at its deepest. How idiotic. It must be some detestable fragment of my imagination, a misunderstanding coming from my insufficient awareness and inadequate experience. I repeat the cycle of pain and relief. It reminds me of the exercise repetitions I suddenly experienced in my childhood. Up to heaven, down to hell, west, east. Like a cradle, that's far away, deeper than everyone. Like a cradle, a paradise blooms without an exit. It's not painful to have no limbs, to lose myself bit by bit. I'm just scared. I'm scared of being nothing. I can't bear the lie of ceasing to be anything. If nothing comes from this, then this is nothing more than suffering for the sake of suffering. My body is on the verge of death. While desperately wishing to die, I frantically wish to continue living. That contradiction. Men of older times called it hell. How wonderful. I can hear a silver something. To be honest, I didn't want to die. I wonder if this is that thing that was going to be born from the Grail in the Heaven's Feel. For a long time, she was in a state of suspended animation. I hear something. Click, click. It sounds like pebbles hitting each other and is somehow rhythmical, reminding me of a lively polka. With an absent mind, I listen only to that sound. Where am I? I can't remember. No, I don't feel like remembering. My indolence is embarrassing. It's ridiculous how I'm awake, but my mind and will are still asleep. I strain my lumbering head and limbs, and crack the whip at my mulish body. Pushing my arms downwards, I slightly prop up my body that was lying face down. I seem to be on a couch. How long have I been sleeping? When I try to recall where I am in the first place, my forehead is struck by severe pain. I feel dizzy. It's almost like the morning after a bout of heavy drinking. I have the bad habit of showing off by drinking all night despite being a weak drinker, but luckily there isn't a trace of alcohol inside me. Where is this? While still mentally unfocused and unsteady, I check my surroundings. I ought to be in a mansion. I don't recognize it. I can't recall where I am. I can't recall why I'm here and why I have been asleep until now. Click, click, click. The sound continues. There's no clock. It's pitch black outside. My gut is telling me it's past midnight. Inside, no, I can't see at all. Not only do my arms and legs feel heavy, but my vision has also been weakened, it appears. I know the layout of the room, but it's too blurry for me to get a good view of it. Still, I attempt to grasp my current situation, and finally... Huh? Oh, I know who that is. I finally notice that in front of me. Someone is sitting with his back faced towards me. A man? It's too dark for my weakened vision, so I can't quite make it out. I can still tell that it is the shadow of a man. The man is sitting and looking downward. He is in a reading posture and pays no notice to me. It looks as if he is engrossed with something. What is he doing? I slowly push myself up and look at his hands. It was easier for my arms and legs to recover than it was for my mental ability and vision. Once I start moving, my mobility will increase the more I move. It's not a book he's occupied with. I believe it's a picture puzzle. A simple game with the picture book broken up into 16 pieces. One of the pieces is removed, and the rest are shuffled and then moved into the open block to bring it back into the original picture, I think. It's an amusement aimed at children that everybody has picked up at least once. He's still occupied with the puzzle. I stop looking at him and raise myself up to a sitting position on the sofa. Yo, finally awake, master. He says, as if he were an old friend of mine. Master? Yeah, I think I know whose perspective we're seeing this from, too. I'm startled by my mumbled voice. Huh? What, are you still half asleep? Come on, get up, you look dead. Where'd all that discipline of yours go? He laughs viciously. His voice is irritating, but I don't feel any anger. Stunned, I look at him in confusion. Why am I... That question came first. No matter how hard I try, I can't remember why I had been asleep. He froze his eyebrows, odd considering I can't see very well, and points to the corner of the room. There's an old dull mirror in the corner. Take a look for yourself. After all, you can do everything on your own. I walk up to the mirror on unsteady feet. There isn't any lighting, and the pale moonlight sharpens the darkness. There's a cloudy mirror, abandoned for many, many years, in this godforsaken mansion. In it, looking at me stunned, is unmistakably myself. Yep, guess who? My voice slips out. This doesn't make any sense. Why am I startled at seeing the body that I'd grown up with for more than 20 years? Dark red hair and eyes. An unlikable figure, useful only for intimidating others. An armor of male attire that denies any femininity. This is me, the same old me, the same plain old Bazette Fraga Mekromitz. And yet, I'm still startled. I can feel that there is something wrong with the figure shown in the mirror. As if there is something extra, and as if something that ought to be there is missing. Just as that paradoxical notion entered my mind. You back to normal yet? In that case, time to go a-killin'. It's not our style to lose all the time, eh, master? With that one word, he erased a small doubt that something was out of place. Master, glad I'd forgotten that word. The battle for a miracle, 7 magi putting their lives on the line. The master of the ultimate familiar wielding the Holy Grail. That is why I am here, to participate in the great ritual known as the Holy Grail War of this Asian island country. The Holy Grail is a holy artifact said to grant the wishes of its master, but there has yet to be one who has obtained the true Holy Grail. It is ultimately no more than a legend. The Holy Grail summoned in Fuyuki is an imitation based on this legend. However, though it may not be the original, as long as it is a powerful artifact that grants wishes, it is called a Holy Grail. To the Magi, the matter of true and false is a lesser issue. The main concern is whether or not the imitation is powerful. In that case, the Holy Grail in Fuyuki could be said to be of great concern. The 726th Holy Grail, summoned in that land, has the potential to become the real one. In the name of the order we seek, keep it away from the world of man. That was the decision of the Mages Association, an organized self-defense body for the concealment of magic. The Holy Grail War of this land is a competition between magi. There is a limit to the number of participants. The association was allowed only 1 seat. The person to be chosen was one who was a specialist at combat. A person that was suited to use magic not for the sake of academia, but as a weapon. It is a Far Eastern island country's ritual, one that has nothing to do with the faction struggles within the association. It is nothing but a nuisance. A battle where defeat is not allowed, but victory would bring no glory. I was selected for that very battle. This meant using an artifact passed down within my family as the summoning catalyst for my servant. Carrying the burden of the prestige and the trust of the association and the means to fight, I departed. We're not worried in the slightest. Wouldn't you agree, Bazette Fraga Mekromitz? You are an excellent magus. There is no one better than you in combat. If there were, your position here would become shaky. Laughing spitefully, they saw me off. As they said, it was only in combat that they had absolute faith in me as well as derision. God's holder. Tradition carrier. The other name I am called by. An ability in magic, making use of the old blood passed down in my lineage that determined who I am. Yes, I joined the Holy Grail War as a master, to fight in and win the war as a magus of the association. That is my mission. That alone should have been my mission. But, why? I have a vague feeling that I was looking for something other than the Holy Grail. Something or someone. If that was the case, there may have been someone I wanted to meet more than getting the Holy Grail. I can't remember. What happened to me in the last few days? I know who I am, but what happened later? What happened since I came to Fuyuki is a blur. I remember joining the battle as a master. I remember patrolling the city with my servant. But there are still many blanks. The last few days, that's right. My memory of everything that has happened since I came to this city has been clouded. Why have I been sleeping in this house in the first place? Hello? How long are you planning on spacing out, lady? We don't have all day. Let's go wrap things up. Maybe the mansion they're staying in is that one they were going to tell the ghost stories about. Maybe it's not Tosuga's mansion, but another one. Another haunted mansion in Fuyuki. The figure that is speaking to me. He's a servant, being given form from the summoning of a legendary hero. What is called a heroic spirit. They are the most powerful familiars that a human being can control. There is a path between master and servant to supply magical energy. My magical energy, or to be more direct, my life energy, is what powers that servant. I can tell that my body is acting as the wedge that pins the servant to this plane of existence. He is definitely my servant, but still, was this the servant I summoned? Are you my servant? I asked, while struggling with this headache. Say what? The servant rose up and is now staring at me, finally noticing that something is amiss. Oh no, Hey, lady. From the look of you, I'm going to guess that you're still not ready to fight. The shadow sways, almost like a flame. I can feel it in my guts. The man may be my servant, but he's certainly not on my side. This is the sort of wild animal that would kill his master to become free as soon as he gets the chance. The relationship between master and servant is not based on trust among employer and employee. It is only a relationship of cooperation, based on mutual gains and losses. Letting down one's guard, showing even the slightest weakness, means risking being stabbed in the back that very instant. Hey, your concerned partner is asking you a question. You're supposed to answer. Yes, I suppose I should. To be quite honest, my abilities have suffered a decline. There is no hindrance to movement, but my mind is in disarray. In particular, my memory of yesterday is vague. There is no benefit in hiding the cloudiness in my memory. I look back at the servant and reveal my current disorder. However, I didn't reveal what had to be hidden. I cannot tell him that my vision has weakened, nor that my memory is vague, but rather missing. There are many current weaknesses. If I told him, that servant would immediately bear his fangs at me. The best I can do is behave normally while getting information from the servant and trying to recover my memory. Your memory's vague. You summoned me? But you don't have a clue about the Holy Grail War or yourself. Cut me some slack, lady. I would have been 10 times better off hooking up with a complete rookie. No, I know very well who I am. I remember summoning you, as well as joining the Holy Grail War as a master. What is vague is what happened afterwards. For example, I just cannot seem to remember why I was sleeping here. Without showing any signs of weakness, I tell him the truth. Whether it worked or not, the taint of suspicion that the servant had been carrying grew fainter. I will repeat myself. Why was I sleeping here? How the hell should I know? You're the one that said you were going to use this place as a safe house, and you're the one that said you were going to take a nap because you were tired right after summoning me. Ring a bell? Yes, before coming to Fuyuki, I did investigate suitable safe houses as potential bases at the association. Among the ones I checked, yes, this mansion should have been one of those. What if it's Elia's house? My mind grows hazy. When I try to recall what happened, I start to feel faint. I shouldn't push myself too hard right now. I have to hear what happened from the servant. Yes, I was the one that decided to use this mansion as a safe house. I remember that. And then, I summoned you. I remember indistinctly that this happened. I did form a contract with this servant in this mansion. Right. Then you fell right asleep. You just told me your name and then said something like, "Don't do anything until I wake up." Thanks to you, I've been sitting here all day. Why do I have to take a back seat when I got called here to do some killing? Only my name? No, more importantly, what this servant is saying is dangerous. It is very reassuring that he loves fighting, but it will be a problem if he loves it more than is necessary. Wait, we did not even discuss a basic battle plan? Nope, probably didn't need to. You probably already checked out the city beforehand. Other stuff like what the Holy Grail War is supposed to be was knocked into my head the moment I got summoned. The point is to just kill the other masters faster, better, any way possible. Don't need no advice on that. Lady, stop looking at me like that. You're freaking me out. Did I say something that pissed you off? Yes, it appears we both lack an understanding of each other. It irritates me that my servant can be so thoughtless. I am a magus representing the association, and have no intention of being the master of a wild animal. I stare and try to intimidate him. Whatever, said the servant, averting his eyes. But, if an understanding's what you're after, I think you're wasting your time. He mutters as if it doesn't concern him. Okay, I'll listen. What kind of fighting does Her Highness, the representative of the association, prefer? We will conduct matters secretly and avoid pointless battles. First, priority will be given to obtaining the information on hostile masters. After understanding the atmosphere of this Holy Grail War, we will consider the appropriate order of who to defeat first, and then proceed defeating each magus one by one. Those were the orders received from the association. First, I have to gather information on the 3 families that administer the Holy Grail War: Einsburn, Tosaka, and Makiri. An investigation of the remaining 3 masters will proceed afterwards. It may be possible to convince the Magi to abandon their master status. There also may be other understanding Magi that ought to be taken into custody by the association. Besides, to act without proper information is an embarrassment for a magus of the association. Huh? I'm not your errand boy. Master, if you spot an enemy, you kill him. We're all in this killing business together. Once you come across one, you can't get away, and you won't let him get away. I didn't need him to tell me that. I feel the same way, but I can't disobey the orders of the association. Do as I say. The association exists to conceal the supernatural. We cannot afford to cause a disturbance. Also, an unruly fight will only lead to the deaths of innocent bystanders. It is an absolute condition that we obtain the Holy Grail, but we must avoid involving the civilians of the city. This is not only a matter of the Mages Association. The Holy Church also has involvement in the Holy Grail War. Should any damage be brought to the city, they will vigorously move in to conceal it to ensure the smooth continuance of the ritual. There is a limit to this, however. Last time, in the Fourth War, there was a master that killed indiscriminately and daily. The priest monitoring viewed the master as an enemy and penalized him severely. So you're saying we gotta go by methods over means. I can't figure out how, but it's better not to kill in order to win. This is not to win. I'm a magus. If necessary, I will kill. However, as a human being, there are minimum standards that should be observed. That's sorta... how do I put it? He sounds unenthusiastic. The servant apathetically breathes out and... Lady, how about using a command spell? Say something like, don't disobey me. Because if you don't, I think I might kill you first. I gulp. He's serious. He doesn't care about what would happen next. The rule of cooperating with a master for his own protection doesn't apply to him. This bastard is seriously aiming for my throat. The servant told me to use a command spell to stop him. 3 absolute rights of order that a master has. Powerful spells given by the Holy Grail. A master's trump card that can only be used 3 times, but ensures that any command is followed. For that reason, I answer him immediately. I refuse. I've never heard of a master being ordered by a dog. Anyone who gets killed by their own dog does not deserve to be called his master. You are my servant. I am the one that tells you how to move and when you are to march off to die. I force back his bloodlust with my own. No matter what, if I used a command spell for something as frivolous as this, I had no future in this war. I clench my fist and start carving runes into the floor with my heel to be able to intercept an assault at any time. Well, at least she's prepared for it. I see. Okay. Let me try having a change of heart. Okay. I'm your servant. I'll listen to my owner. Well, that was a pretty quick change of heart. The servant gave in easily. It's, how should I put it, anticlimactic. And my heart was beating in excitement at the feeling that a battle was going to break out, so I could learn how powerful servants were. What now? You still got a problem? No, but... do you really understand what I said? Yeah, keep the deaths to a minimum, right? That's your policy. I got it. Anything else? You got something else to say? There are many things I want to say in detail, but I have nothing else to say regarding a general plan. The rest I can do by giving orders depending on the situation. Okay, then let's go. I've seriously gotten sick of being here. The servant prods me to go out. I'm still physically unstable, but I'm curious about what is going on outside. And anyway, after sleeping for such a long time, I want to move around freely a bit. I understand. I'll make more detailed modifications to our strategy depending on what we encounter. I regain myself. For the time being, I'll leave rock behind. There are limits to that sword, and I can't use it fully in my current state. After I locate the other masters, I can think about who to use it on. But I've got to say this, lady. Keep the deaths to a minimum, huh? I like the sound of that. Yeah, it'd be great if I could do that. The servant repeats cheerfully. If you still have complaints, say them. If you have any opinions about my strategy, let's settle it here. I told you, I get the point. I'm not going to pick a fight with you since you're so scary. But look, master, that's not going to be possible. All this stuff about killing people or getting bystanders involved is beside the point. This town ain't going to last longer than 4 days, no matter how hard you try. No longer than 4 days? What did you say? You'll understand when you step outside. What you're getting worked up over has stopped mattering a long time ago. The humans living here have been getting wiped out by these mysterious things pouring out daily. Mysterious things? Ridiculous. You're just saying nonsense because my memory is... You'll understand when you step outside. Seeing is believing. The servant stifles his laughter. As I stand bewildered, the black shadow takes my hand and starts walking. Come, let's continue the Holy Grail War, Bazat Fraga Makromitz. To find your wish. This time for sure. I wonder what the hell is going on. The house was built on top of a high hill. Okay, so it's definitely not Ilya's house. It lies hidden within a forest, separated from any human habitation. My head aches. I had thought that breathing the outside air would clear myself, more or less, but instead the cold night air only clouds my thoughts further. What's wrong, master? Still too early for you to get out? The servant pokes fun at me. I shake my head and keep going. My mind is still sluggish. The bright moonlight seems to be the source of my disorientation. Oh, it looks like the Grail. Oh, there's Fuyuki, alright. It's, just as it was before. At least it seems that way. It's quiet. Of course, it's past 2 a.m., but the city is abnormally silent even for this time. It slightly resembles my own hometown, the port town I spent my childhood in. At night, the tide would come into town and people would shut themselves in their houses as if they were afraid. The empty city was almost like a ship sunk at the bottom of the ocean, prompting a younger me to want to run away from that place. I must have felt everybody would have forgotten that I existed if I had stayed like that, at the bottom of the ocean. I couldn't help thinking about the old gods that nobody remembered anymore, sharing the same cursed fate. And now, Fuyuki is being submerged into the ocean depths too. The atmosphere is different from the one I remember. It is too quiet. It might as well be an abandoned city. Regardless, only the presence of life is evident. I could feel almost countless numbers of creatures breathing. Surrounding me is an aura that I have never felt before. Mysterious things, is what my servant said. I don't want to admit it, but it seems that there is credibility to what he says. Ooh, wonder what's that? We've been walking for some 2 hours. The servant stops in his tracks and is now gazing at a particular residence. Oh, I've been around this area before, but to think there was still someone who didn't get the hint to leave. He speaks with an impressed tone. The house he is looking at is nothing more than a regular building. If there is anything that distinguishes it from the other residences, it is the one fact that the lights are on. Stay here. You're still not ready, right? I'll go take a look first. The servant starts walking toward it on his own accord. I try to chase after him. Pathetically, I'm thrown off by the moonlight. I've got to be honest here. I can't speak for the other servants, but see, me, I didn't feel like doing this from the get-go. High-level magic, the summoning of beings purified into the level of legends, and giving the form to them to make them familiars. That's what servants are. Not something so cheap as just borrowing a piece of the power of heroic spirit. No, it's actually a projection of the guy himself. A resurrection just from the Holy Grail War. A clone with a short lifespan, a guardian of humanity reborn into the modern era. Sounds nice and dandy. Autonomous weapons are pretty convenient, right? Except replicating what's on the inside is going a little too far, don't you think? A familiar being able to think doesn't do anyone any good. That goes double for servants. Suppose there's a familiar more powerful than its master. Now let's say it can think for itself. There's no reason why it won't revolt. I was lucky enough to be summoned by a master that was my type of woman. Personally, I'm satisfied with her, but it looks like I'm going to be doing some disobeying. Why? Well, why not? I might not have any complaints about the boss, but I've got a hell of a lot to say about society. I feel like shit, like I was left hanging in the morgue. Back when I was alive, the world was still lively. Nowadays, it's old and dying. Got a few 100 million years left before it kicks the bucket, and it's too late to do anything about it. Being one of those fellows that knew what she was like back in old days, it wouldn't be right not to be a little angry about her current predicament and all that. And of course, it was pretty obvious that she'd be clean dry one of these days, but damn, that was fast. Now, there's a part of me that's got to hate my own species for that filthiness, but another part of me that wants to pat them on the back at the same time. The power of humanity is incredible. Oh, how morals have come and gone in the blink of an eye. Makes me wonder just how many new generations of humanity have been born and how many have been wiped out. Given how fast they are, it's too bad how they haven't come up with a kind of evolution that's environmentally friendly. I've got to hand it to them hominids. They sure did a great job at amplifying a ready-made system instead of finding a new kind of cycle. But that means there's no future ahead, so if they can buy a little more time, it'd be nice if they can come up with some new kind of improvement and keep going. They've already gone to all the trouble of destroying this much. Where do we want to go? Why have we exhausted the land? Was this good? Was this bad? I want results that anyone can understand, even if the answer is that it was a failure. I don't mind one bit. Oh man, I've really got to wonder what the others are thinking. Those of heroic spirit status must have feelings of animosity towards this era. Then again, heroic spirits are supposed to be on humanity's side, so that would mean they'd approve of whatever result humanity brings about, just like how I do the opposite of that. Let's say there was this godlike absolute being as a force of good, and let's say he was summoned here in this day and age. Now, what would he do? Would he approve of it? Would he act to protect us? If he approves, we face extinction. If he protects us, he'll watch on. A sane heroic spirit would choose the latter. One with a few screws loose would happily lend a hand, and another with only one screw left would get excited at making the world a better place. Something like, I'm going to save the world. Well, I don't ever want to meet that kind of a guy, let alone. fight him. Now, as for me, there's only one thing I can do either way. I may be a heroic spirit, but I'm not that strong. Take a look at all the legends in the world and you still won't find anybody weaker than me. Yay, I'm number 1. You're damn lucky, Master. Can't get any lower than this. Easy to make a battle plan, since all there is to do is think about how to take on the strong. I don't want to think about it, but there's a good chance that lady's stronger than me in pure fighting ability. A heroic spirit getting his ass kicked by a human? Oh boy, I want to disappear. Yeah, I really can't agree with that lady. Don't cause any deaths, that's what she said. That's the way to go, milady Magus of the House of whatever. Can't expect to find her strategy that reeks of a sheltered girl on honor roll. Fitting sense of pure humanity for a master. But hey, I can't do that. All I can do is kill. Honestly, a bloodless victory is a pain in the ass. I'm already the weakest. I'm not going to be winning if I'm a goody two-shoes. This thing does have war in the name, so we ought to be relying on the slaughter techniques that man had so painstakingly developed. Servants are one thing, but masters are humans. It'd be way easier to take them out with the mines and explosions like the last time. Well, times have changed. Last time, things were a lot more chaotic, weren't they? Life was cheaper back then, but now, this time things are different. The Mages Association is watching oh so painstakingly close. Plus, the system of public safety that modern man has created is not too shabby. If I run wild, the other masters will figure out where Bizet is. Now, I don't mind finishing off a horde of people nice and fast, but consecutive fighting on consecutive nights is going to exhaust me, so I want to avoid that. On that point, the part on Bizet's strategy about not going overboard is fine with me, so I'll try my best to follow the master's plan like a good servant would. Well then, with that out of the way, let's turn back to what we have now. Wait, what are you going to do? Ignoring my hesitant master's voice, I'm heading to the house. I don't have to bother checking. The fact that the lights are on means that there are live humans inside. Unfortunately, I don't have any human or heat detecting abilities. My servant skills can be summed up as nothing, but that's okay. What's inside there is human. I dematerialize myself and pass through the front door. I manifest my weapon as I go towards the people in the living room. Let's finish this, fast and cruel, like always. Now, for all I know, there could be some accident like the strongest ultra-humanoid in all of human history is inside and has powers that surpass a heroic spirit. No problem whatsoever. I may be the weakest, but I can defeat the most powerful human being. Why? Because it's not something to brag about, but when it comes down to dueling with humans, I'm the strongest. Blood splashes up in the air. The inhabitants are dead. One middle-aged man, 2 boys, 1 granny, 1 old man holding a blood-stained knife. Oh, he's still alive. What the hell? What a letdown. By the time I broke in, it was already over. His breath is ragged and heavy. The mad culprit who massacred those 4. He doesn't pay any attention to me, probably because he wants to take out the last geezer. The geezer backed himself up to the wall and is desperately shaking his head. The murder scene and the method are pretty grisly to look at. The bodies are ravaged beyond recognition. Blood, flesh, and entrails are splendidly scattered about. The choking stench of light, a living place splattered here and there. The end roll for the Brady Bunch. Damn clean for a murder scene. Not one little flaw. After all, it was a murder for murder's sake. No robbing, no raping, no hungering. Not one bit of that here. Somebody! Help! I'll save him, since he asked. Since it was a surprise blow from behind, the murderer is killed easily. After that, I'm back to my regular job. Or not? What happened? By the time I ran into that house, it was all over. How could you? There are 5 corpses in the living room. I'm able to tell by what appears to be 5 heads severed from the nose. It is a slaughter scene so grotesque that I could not have determined how many there are through any other means. Sorry about settling things before you got here, the servant says while standing idly in a pool of fresh blood. In the servant's clenched hand is a warped dagger, a form that seems to be a mix of the fangs and claws of a beast. Is it meant to be gripped backhanded? I've never seen a weapon that looks so difficult to use. So that weapon is his noble phantasm, his symbol as a heroic spirit. Now don't look at me like that. How about it? Want me to give you the details? There's no need. That weapon and the wounds on those bodies match well enough. The shadow laughs in agreement. There's no need to investigate any further. This situation told me that the cause of this tragedy was the servant. I have one question. Why did you kill them? Why ask why? I did it for you. I was just looking for the jackpot. Looking one by one's not different at all as killing them one by one. The point is to make sure there are no witnesses, right? Right. So if we keep wiping them out like this, we'll run into a master eventually. This guy, he hadn't listened to anything I said. I was prepared to accept some sacrifices once I went into battle. I'm a magus and no different from a murderer. However, still, I never desired this kind of meaningless sacrifice. Do you enjoy killing people? Huh? Don't be dumb. It's not like I like doing this. I'm doing the best I can for what you wanted me to do. Now look, just because I look like a human, don't go thinking I am one. When you get into it, aren't servants supposed to be tools for this kind of thing? You've not answered my question. I asked you, do you enjoy killing people? I glare at the servant. Holding that warped dagger, the servant. Not one bit. First off, if I kill them, I miss out on a lot of fun I could be having with them. He directed a repugnant laugh as if he wanted me to share in his amusement. You bastard. How dare you call yourself a heroic spirit? I can't restrain myself. It's strange. I've seen people like him countless times, yet without any reason, I feel disgust at this man's way of life. It somehow feels as if this man alone must not be forgiven. I could say the same for you, lady. If you don't like killing, you shouldn't have become a master. Seriously, it's a turn-off. Man, what a waste of a good show. And I was so hoping it would cheer you up, too. I see. I apologize, but I cannot ever meet your expectations on that front. I'm now convinced we're not going to get along with each other. You're the type of person I hate the most. I turn my hostility towards my own servant. I direct hatred similar to annoyance at the person I have to gain trust from. I'm not acting right. The immaturity of showing my feelings and hating someone should have been discarded long ago. That's fine. Basically, I hate all things too. It'd piss me off if you let your guard down, so it suits me fine. I think you can call this one way of getting along. The servant shows no signs of caring. I hate him, and he doesn't think anything of me. So, there will be no cause for friction even if we despise each other, as we have no plans to bond. You know, though, I kind of like your type. Except, he just said something odd. Why? You said you hate everything. As your master, I know what kind of servant you are. Your course of action is not that of someone who is fond of humans. Well, for now, I'll just say you're my type of woman. I don't like you, but I got some affection for you. The reason is because I'm a woman? Not a woman, my type of woman. You're the kind that excites me. You've got the kind of body I like. But parts of you, like the elite schoolgirl, the one that tries to go by society's norms, it's just painful to look at. You understand me? This here was just me carrying out my one function like it's my job. But you're turning me on enough to make me want to find a real reason to kill you. Jesus Christ. The shadow laughs. Intent flows through our connected path, so dense I can physically feel it. The servant isn't lying. He hates all things. By nature, he sees everything as an object to kill, without reason or reward. There can be no other explanation. Not for this pure hatred that can turn into a curse without having to use the incendiary device of magic, just by existing. But that leaves me with questions. For someone with as much bloodlust as him to not kill me earlier doesn't make any sense. About what you said earlier. You said that you would kill me first, but restrained yourself. How did you hold back your lust for me without being under the influence of the command spell? Yeah, that's because you're my master. I just made this rule that you're not human. To get right down to it, you just became the only living thing that I don't feel like killing. On the outside, you might be a woman, but on the inside, not human at all. You've been categorized outside my playing range. That was direct. For some reason, I find his answer incredibly hurtful. You're not going to treat me as a human being? I've heard people say before that I'm boring or that I'm not charming, but this has to be the first time I wasn't treated like a woman. Well, he did say that you were his kind of woman, so that kind of seems a little bit contradictory. No, he said as a human being, but that is how it sounded to me. Oh, you can't trust me? This is the best I'm gonna offer. The first and last exception I'm gonna make, you know. Shit, you're pissing me off. I'm being serious here. Okay, I get it. You won't believe it without something to show for it. Alright, fine. I'll give you this. Will you trust me? So he interpreted my silence as suspicion. He tears out a page of a notepad from the blood-soaked desk and writes something on it. Here you go. Don't give it to anybody else. Certificate of exemption from murder. Valid until the end of Holy Grail War. In well-written Japanese. Here's a certification that that I'm not going to kill you. What is this? What do you mean, what? This is proof that you're not a person. With this, anybody can tell that I'm not into you. Good for you, he says, pushing the piece of paper into my hand. Yes, my judgment was correct. This servant and I are hopelessly doomed not to get along. We cannot afford to stay at the murder scene forever. Hurriedly, we leave the residence behind. I have my complaints with my servant acting without my permission, but it is already too late. By continuing to argue with him, the only thing that would result is further mistrust. However, there is one thing I feel that is strange about him. I cannot trust this servant. Masters and servants are linked. Because of that, I can feel that he is fundamentally the kind that enjoys murder and completely kills his opponent ruthlessly, no matter who or what. He is my complete opposite. I complete my missions without leaving room for personal feelings. However, this servant does so only with personal feelings. He operates only on the emotion of wanting to kill people. But despite that... What? Didn't you say you want to leave? Oh, I get it. You're planning on ambushing the other masters dumb enough to investigate this mess, right? A Magus wouldn't fall for a trap so obvious as that, and I told you that combat is reserved for the second stage. We will proceed with information gathering, remember? Nah, I'm betting there will be a stupid rookie around. Like the kind that goes on nightly patrols every night and drops dead. He wouldn't figure out that going around doing his homework would just get him wasted by other masters. Terminally ill with goodness, ain't he? I ignore my servant's chatter and walk ahead. And yet, despite all of his negative points, I don't feel that this servant is unpleasant. He is the kind of human being that I despise the most. I cannot tolerate him on any level. So why is it that I can't completely hate him? I close my eyes and focus on our link. In exchange for the flowing magical energy, sometimes I feel something very refreshing. A feeling of homesickness rubbing against the heart, a prayer resembling longing. How hollow. The void tells me something. I don't understand the clear reason why, but it tells me this servant will never betray me. It tells me that he will lend his chaotic will to grant my wish. Now, it sounds like he's kind of a wild card, to say the very least. We resume our patrol. This night, we focus our investigation on Shinto. And nothing. Nothing's there. The Shinto investigation ends in about 2 hours. We weren't able to detect any traces of magi. In addition, the presence of the mysterious things the servant mentioned was confirmed. A part of me finds it hard to believe, but Fuyuki has indeed completely changed. All over I can feel an unusual presence. It is as if we are always being watched. The city has begun to come apart at the seams ever so slightly. On a different note, while there are many traces of magical energy, there are absolutely no signs of magic being performed. Which would mean that this isn't the work of a master gathering magical energy. The only feasible possibility is that there is something feeding on the inhabitants of the city, unrelated to the war. No master would benefit from this. Doing this would instead force a halt to the Holy Grail War. I see. If it was an outside Magus that had heard about the Holy Grail War, that would mean that there is a Magus that desired the Holy Grail, but was not chosen as a master. Perhaps out of a twisted desire for vengeance, he's trying to disrupt the ritual? Another possibility was he made a contract with another association to disrupt the Holy Grail War. Regardless, it is obvious that there is an 8th Magus in Fuyuki. An 8th one? You're telling me another nuisance popped up? I cannot say for sure, but there is a high likelihood that it is true. It is clear that an unidentified Magus is trying to intervene in the 5th Holy Grail War. I have no idea what his objective may be, but he was starting off by breaking the rules of the Holy Grail War. It may be best to think of him as not just my enemy, but as the enemy of all masters. Oh. So what's this guy like? He has no confidence in direct combat, but he is skilled at constructing large-scale fields. He is probably more suited for defense rather than offense. He has not studied magic properly, probably because his is a mix of black magic and druid concepts. No, that's not what I meant. I wanted to know if he's strong or weak. As a Magus, his skill is elementary. However, the remaining magical energy traces were extremely dense. Magical energy is only fuel to activate magic. By itself, it has no effect. However, there are cases where it can leave behind a form, only limited to those times when magical energy itself bears traits similar to magic. For example, I heard that the Ainsburns gave a personality to their Holy Grail. If the personality has magical energy, then it naturally possesses the magic trait of wish granting. Since its vital activity and its functions as a Holy Grail are likely directly connected to each other, it should be able to perform miracles resembling magic merely by releasing magical energy. The incarnated demons spoken of by the Holy Church also fall into this category. knows that we're created as demons rather than as life forms, can use higher level magic than humans. As magi, our magic circuits are nothing more than pseudo-nerves, an ability that was added later behind our nervous system. However, demons have no need for those. All their organic functions merely serve the purpose of invoking the demonic. I hear the church calls these true demons. Different from imposters that don a hide of human concepts to become a unique identity, they are genuine demons that the Lord has commanded before man would name them, or so I hear. Regardless, it appears that he is a dangerous interloper. If this Magus is a careless fool, we need not heed attention to him. If, however, he is a freelancer hired by the church, he would be a force to be reckoned with. Now that I think about it, the one who won the previous war was... Uh-oh. His name was Emiya, a freelance Magus hired by the Einsburns. Oh, they're talking... Okay, yeah, that's right, they're talking about the fourth one. His name was Emiya Kiritsugu, a combat Magus called in by the Einsburns, who had been retired from the front lines by the time I had been assigned to sealing missions. Our occupations have the tendency to intrude on each other's territory. He had still been active. I would likely have fought him numerous times. While the situation is becoming more unstable, I can't change my policy just because of one more enemy. I will proceed with an investigation of all the masters, causing as little damage to the people of the city as possible. The problem is what to do next. It is obvious that my servant's abilities are low-ranking. In a straight-out fight on pure ability, he will eventually exhaust himself and lose. I have to think of an order of who to fight, but I know very well who our final opponent ought to be. The lineage of Holy Grails, Einsburn. It has been said that they have prepared the most powerful master for this war. In the past, I have fought a homunculus created by the Einsburns. Being a failed creation and facing disposal, it ran away from Einsburn territory and survived by scraping out a meager existence in the human city. I was responsible for destroying it, but the results were bitter. Even considering that at the time I was still inexperienced, the Einsburn-produced homunculus was tougher than many magi. The same Einsburns have produced a master for this battle that they believe to be the most powerful. In all honesty, I can't even begin to see a chance of victory at this stage. Until I discover what tricks the enemy has up their sleeves, fighting against the Einsburns is suicidal. In the forest on the outskirts of the city lies the old castle the Einsburns control. The day we invade the forest will most likely be the day my Holy Grail War will end. The last place we come to is a hilltop graveyard for foreigners. I suppose it's because of the Einsburns casting a shadow over my mind. I feel weak, disoriented from a headache. I really didn't want to come here. What's wrong, Master? Got something on your mind? My unease must have shown on my face. My servant is actually showing concern for my health. I allow myself to be taken in by his sudden consideration. Allow me to ask you a foolish question. Do you believe that I can win? And I put into words that weak uncertainty that I had tried not to think about. The servant's expression changes. Keeping his mouth twisted with sarcasm, he turns his back to me. It's still early to be worried about that. Whether you win or lose, you have to first figure out what to fight, but... His voice is strained. He's bent forward like a beast with prey before his eyes. God damn, it's just not my day. Looks like we don't have time to be worrying. He's grinning. What he sees is a master and servant. I feel a powerful flow of magical energy. The command spells on her left hand shine brightly. She's still young, but appears to possess wisdom that far surpasses my own. Good evening, Magus of the Valley peasants. I wonder if there is a need to introduce ourselves. She's probably from one of the greatest houses. Her eyes are full of derision. To her side is another figure. I cannot tell which class she belongs to, but the fact that a master brought her means she must be a servant. Wait a second. Rin and Sakura? Why does Rin look so different, and what's going on with Sakura's outfit? I remove the leather gloves inscribed with the runes of protection from my chest pocket. I take them out along with something hard. Why was I carrying this earring? Why had I tucked it away so carefully? Those questions rise to the surface, but now isn't the time for that. I put the gloves on. The girl waits politely for me to make my move. I regret not bringing a rock with me. If I survive, I'll make sure to carry it, even if I am out only for my investigations. While I shouldn't use my trump card immediately, having it increases the range of my strategy. I will determine how strong the enemy is. You will engage the servant. Gotcha. Not taking any chance to see what she would do, he brushed towards the girl's servant. The two figures clash. I pass by the side and run towards the defenseless master. So you were only a nameless peasant. Very well. Be honored to be killed by the Elderfelts. So, wait, so is it not Tosaka? Why is she calling herself Elderfelt? Or Adelfelt? Like, that's the name of, the other character. How did I forget her name at a time like this? She fired a scatter of Gondor. Well, that must be Tosaka if she's using Gondor shots. A one-action spell preventing close combat. Her magecraft is a firearm in itself. This isn't a metaphor. Adelfelt, a noble family of Finland. The Oreskels, the same Adelfelt that produced many masters of the Gondor. This generation's young head was praised as the prize of their lineage, but now that I've seen how skilled she is, I can agree. I don't block the Gondor aimed at both sides of my thigh. I keep moving, parrying only the Gondor that would hit my upper body with my left fist. You've blocked my Gondor with only your bare hands? I move in. My right fist, lowered to the base of my chest, strikes aimed at the side of her stomach, where her kidneys are. Oof. I'm blown backwards. A figure appearing from behind her protects her from a body blow and repels me. Oh. So she's Saber's master in this? A swordsman stands in my way. Bro, you better fucking retreat right now. The servant. There's no denying it. That is a servant. Then, who was the moment I look away to confirm, the battle is over. Saber, help! The other girl screams. Saber defeats my servant just at... Oh my god, they have Saber alter too? Oh, dude. You're screwed. You better fucking run. They've got the original Saber and alter. Just as the girl had ordered her to. How appallingly weak. With just one flash of steel, not even able to match sword against sword, my servant has his neck pierced and is already gone. That was quick. Pathetic. This has gotten dull. Saber, end this quickly. When you're done, let's go back and enjoy a hot cup of coffee. Saber nods silently. Yeah, there's no way Bazette's gonna hold her off. Oh, I've seen this before. I'm defeated without being able to prepare my weapon. So, this is Saber. This doesn't make any sense. The two girls are each using a different saber. It seems your investigation was inadequate. Have you never heard that the heads of the Edelfelt family are always sisters? Sisters. That is the magic trait of their bloodline. The normally abhorrent notion of having two successors was the reason why they were called scales. Then, the two of them are one master and summon two different sides of the same heroic spirit. This is so confusing. Is this like some kind of weird alternate universe version of Tosaka? That one is down. Be honored to have been killed by us and squirm in the humiliation of being the first to be defeated. There are now 5 masters remaining. Her voice echoed to the moon. Saber, silently and without showing any hint of emotion, thrust her sword into my chest. Ooh. Well, that ended very quickly. My consciousness is being severed. The moon is cycling like a white skull. And thus comes the end of my Holy Grail War, once again. Losing sight of the ending, without conclusion. Wait, once again. The curtains fall. Oh yeah, I think we're in some kind of a time loop, aren't we? Isn't that what this is? Like some kind of weird time loop?